Hello friends, how are you doing? And I hope you all are doing excellent and fantastic. Today we will do the chemical coordination and control, right? And we will solve the different MCQs in this particular for the NEET pattern exercise. So let us move to the first question. The fight or flight reaction cause, okay? The fight or flight reaction cause the activation of the parathyroid gland, okay? First of all, the fight or flight reactions are due to epinephrine, okay, the epinephrine. So we will read all the options. The parathyroid gland leading to increased metabolic rate, the kidneys leading to suppression of the renin-angiotensin aldosterone pathway, the renal medulla leading to increased secretion of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Absolutely right. So what we can say, the adrenal medulla, secretes the epinephrine, right? The epinephrine and norepinephrine and norepinephrine. Right? The renal medulla secretes the epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are responsible for the fight and flight reactions, which are responsible for the fight and flight reactions, right? Which are responsible for the fight and flight reactions. So basically, these are the emergency hormones which are secreted by the adrenal medulla. Any in case of emergency, in case of any conditions like that, it is these hormones which will take the control. Okay, so what do these do? What are their basic roles? They will increase circulation or the blood flow to the coronary artery, that is the heart, right? They will increase blood flow, okay? They will increase blood flow to the coronary artery, that is heart. Okay. Next, they will also increase the blood flow to the lungs. Increase blood flow to the lungs. So any bronchial constriction and all, any bronchospasm will be removed. Okay, they will remove the bronchospasm. They will, or we can say they will bring about the bronchial dilation. They will bring about the bronchial dilation. Bring about bronchial dilation, right? So they will be bringing about the bronchial dilation. So hence the fight or flight reactions cause activation of the adrenal medulla, leading to the increased secretion of the epinephrine and the norepinephrine. This is going to be the correct answer for this particular question, right? Now let us talk about the next question. Which one of the following pairs of hormones, okay, Which one of the following pairs of hormones are the examples of those that can easily pass through the cell membrane of the target cell? Through the cell membrane of the target cell and bind to a receptor inside it, mostly in the nucleus. Now, for it to pass through the cell membrane, since the cell membrane are phospholipids, we know that. So, these have to be lipid soluble. Basically, the hormones which we are talking about, or this answer ones, have to be lipid soluble. So, so that it can cross the membrane and can bind to the receptors below the membrane. Insulin and glucagon is not the answer. Thyroxine and insulin, somatostatin and oxytocin, yes, cortisol and testosterone. These are the hormones, okay, which can pass through the what? Through the blood. These are the hormones which can pass through the membrane. Why? Because they are lipid soluble and hence will bind to the receptors beneath it. So, we will write as cortisol and testosterone, right? Cortisol and testosterone are the hormones so cortisol and testosterone are the hormones which are lipid soluble, will cross the membrane, okay, will cross the membrane okay, will cross the membrane and then will bind to the receptors on the inner side, and then will bind to the receptors, okay, on the inner aspect. So, cortisol and testosterone are the hormones which are lipid soluble, will cross the membrane and then will bind to the receptors on the inner aspect, right. Let us move to the next question. Fetal ejection reflex in human female is induced by? Right. Fetal ejection reflex. The fetal ejection reflex means, it is actually talking about the parturition at the time of delivery. It is talking about that the fetus will be ejected out from the mother reproductive system. So, what we will see, what are the hormones which are basically, bringing this about? Pressure exerted by the amniotic fluid, not at all. It is the amnion is a cover around the fetus. Release of oxytocin from the pituitary, yes. From the posterior aspect of the pituitary gland will be released this oxytocin, which will bring about the contraction of the uterine muscles and the vaginal stretching. Because of this, what happens? There will be the fetus will come out of the mother's uterus. And also, oxytocin doesn't, oxytocin also helps, brings about the contraction of the myoepithelial cells of the mammary gland, thus producing milk, right. So, oxytocin which is being produced, right, oxytocin which is being produced from the posterior pituitary oxytocin which is being produced from the posterior pituitary will be bringing about okay, will be bringing about the uterine contraction right. So, oxytocin, which is produced from the posterior pituitary, will be bringing about the uterine contraction and the vaginal stretching and the vaginal stretching, okay. Thus the fetus will be, thus the fetal ejection reflex, thus the fetal ejection reflex. Oxytocin, this also brings about, okay, also brings about contraction, okay, also brings about contraction of the myoepithelial cells of mammary gland. Okay, also brings about contraction of the myoepithelial cells of mammary gland, thus producing milk, right. So, the answer would be that release of oxytocin from the pituitary. Okay. We will go to the next question. Which of the following pairs of organs includes only the endocrine glands? Which of the following pairs of organs includes only the endocrine glands? So, let us see what are endocrine glands. Okay, endocrine glands. The endocrine glands are, these are ductless glands, okay, which will release the secretion. These are without any duct, and they will release the secretion they will pour the secretion into the blood. So, through the blood circulation, these hormones will reach the area or the target area, right. So, these are ductless glands, okay, these are ductless glands, okay. These are ductless glands which pour their secretion, into the blood, thus bringing about what? Okay, thus bringing about the into the blood, thus bringing about the effect at target site. So, these are the ductal glands which bring the secretion into the blood, thus bringing about the effect at the target site. So, we know which are the endocrine glands here. The parathyroid gland is an endocrine gland, and even the adrenal is an endocrine gland. Okay. So, the option first itself is correct, right. The parathyroid and adrenal are the endocrine glands, right. Now, we move on to the next question. The blood calcium level is lowered by the deficiency of Okay, so the blood calcium level is lowered by the deficiency of. Now the correct answer for this would be parathormone, right? The parathormone. So blood calcium level will be decreased, okay, will be due to deficiency of what? Parathormone, right. Now due to deficiency of this calcium level, what you will see, there will be muscular cramps, and there will be tenderness, the muscular cramps and spasm, which will be referred to as the tetany. So due to the decrease of calcium, there would be muscular cramps, there would be muscular cramps and spasm seen. Okay, there would be muscular cramps and spasm seen. Right. So due to the decrease of calcium, there would be muscular cramps and spasm seen. Referred to as tetany, right? Referred to as tetany. So the blood calcium level is lowered by the deficiency of the parathormone. We move on to the next question. Withdrawal of which of the following hormone is the immediate cause of menstruation? Right? See, actually, it's estrogen, FSH releasing, follicle stimulating hormone, releasing hormone, and progesterone. So the withdrawal of both estrogen and progesterone, okay, will be the immediate cause of menstruation, but actually it is mainly the progesterone hormone. It is mainly the progesterone hormone, the withdrawal of which will be the immediate cause of menstruation, because this affects in a larger way. Okay, so the answer for this would be the progesterone, right. We move on to the next question. Melatonin is secreted by which gland? The melatonin is secreted by the pineal gland, and we will see this pineal gland will be inhibited. Okay, this will be inhibited in the presence of light, right, and it works on the gonads by the secretion of gonadotropins, right. So melatonin, this is the 7th question we are doing. Melatonin, right, is secreted melatonin is secreted by the pineal gland, right. This gland would be inhibited, right, in the presence of light, and it would function on the gonad by inhibiting the gonad due to the release of the gonadotropins, right. So it will function on gonads, right. So, it will function on gonads by inhibiting the gonads due to the release of gonadotropins. Okay. So, it will function on gonads by inhibiting the gonad due to the release of the gonadotropins, that is the melatonin, which is secreted by the pineal gland, right. A common scent producing gland among the mammals is which one? A very unique question, but they have asked this a few times. Okay, anal gland, prostate gland, adrenal gland, and Bartholin gland, and this would be the anal gland, right. Now, this anal gland, it produces the pheromones, and is this is present near the feet, the face, or the anus, right, among the mammals. So, the anal gland which is also called as the scent gland, the anal gland, which is also called as the anal gland, which is also called as scent gland, is present near the face, feet, or anus in some mammals, and produce the pheromones right. So, the anal gland, which is also called as scent gland, is present near the face, feet, or anus in some mammals and produces the pheromones, right. Now, we will talk about the next question. Nicotine. Nicotine acts as a stimulant because it mimics the effect of which of these? Thyroxine, acetylcholine, testosterone, and dopamine. The correct action of this, the answer of this would be acetylcholine, because nicotine is a stimulant, right. Nicotine, we know, is acting as a stimulant. Acts as a stimulant. Why? This is because the nicotine would the nicotine would act on the same receptors as does the chemical messenger the acetylcholine. Okay. So, nicotine acts on the same receptor, right. Nicotine acts on the same receptor as does right. So, nicotine acts on the same receptor as does the acetylcholine nicotine, and hence nicotine acts as a stimulant. Right. So, the answer for this will be acetylcholine, that nicotine acts as a stimulant because it mimics the effect of the acetylcholine. And now we will move on to the last question. ADH or vasopressin, the antidiuretic hormone. The enzyme that hydrolyzes the peptides, absolutely wrong. Hormone secreted by the pituitary that promotes the reabsorption of the water from the glomerular filtrate, yes, absolutely right. The ADH or the vasopressin is again secreted by the posterior pituitary, okay, and what it does, ADH, antidiuretic hormone, okay, released by the posterior pituitary, okay. So, ADH, antidiuretic hormone released by the posterior pituitary will act on the distal convoluted tubule and the proximal part of the collecting tubule, will act on the distal convoluted tubule and proximal part, okay, and proximal part of collecting tubule. Right. So, antidiuretic hormone released by the posterior pituitary will act on the distal convoluted tubule and proximal part of the collecting tubule, okay, and hence cause reabsorption of water from the glomerular filtrate, right, and hence causes the reabsorption of water from the glomerular filtrate. Right. So, because of this reabsorption of water, what is happening, the urine is more getting concentrated, because of this ADH or vasopressin, more and more water is reabsorbed, and hence the urine, this will make the urine more concentrated, ADH or vasopressin, right. We talked about this when we were talking about the when we were talking about this in the excretory chapter. So, the answer would be the B1. That is, this is the effect of the ADH or vasopressin. So, I hope you are clear with these stuffs, and any doubts you can always approach me, go through these questions. We will try to provide you a new set of questions the next time. The time we meet again, a very goodbye from this side.